You're watching IGN Live. Most of the time when we talk about gaming mice, we're talking about the PC peripherals you use to click on things. But in this case, we get to talk about the cute and furry kind. So here to tell me about Hela, please welcome creative director Martin Sahlin. Sahlin, I'm sorry, but welcome. Thank you so much.
Glad to be here.
So Hela looks so cute and whimsical, but I'm gonna guess that there's more to it than that. So can you give us a rundown of the game?
Yeah, it's an adventure, puzzle, exploration, kind of just playing around game, I guess. It's you can play it on your own and you can play it with friends, and it's kind of like, I guess we just wanted to sort of capture the vibe of playing in the woods as a kid. Just so tried to make something very playful and approachable and sort of, yeah, just have a good time. So.
Yeah, well, I love that you said like playing in the woods as a kid, because everything that I've seen of Hela, that look of curiosity and wonder is so apparent. So you mentioned you can play single player or co-op.
Yeah.
Can you explain how exactly that works with exploration and puzzles and gameplay?
It's pretty cool actually, because you can just kind of drop in and drop out as you like, because you can create little copies of yourself to make up for numbers if you're not like playing with someone else at the time. So it's sort of like it's sort of always multiplayer even when you're playing on your own. So that's pretty cool. We just wanted to make it really like to lower the barrier of entry as much as we could, to just make it really easy for people to play together. So you can play it in split screen, or you can play it online, or you can mix and match. Also, it's it's kind of complicated in a way to make, but for the player it should be just really easy to just get a game going and start playing around.
Well, and I love that mechanic of so you can just copy yourself, because I feel like when you're a kid and you don't have any friends to play with, you can just kind of make up imaginary friends, and it feels like it's kind of playing on that same whimsical energy.
Yeah, very much. It's playing with your imaginary friends.
Exactly.
No, but it's really cool actually. They can give you like a little helping hand. And it's also nice because we wanted it to feel like safe to try things out. So you could basically, like, whenever you're trying a hard move, you could just like make one of those little copies of yourself, and if you fall off, then you can just like get right back to where you were. So it's just like a little portable checkpoint in a way. So it's a fun mechanic.
Perfect. I love that. I think in other communities, sometimes it's called save scumming. I'm sure you've heard. So I love that there's a friendly, like user-friendly way to do that. So let's talk about, how did you approach crafting that cozy adventure feel in Hela?
Sorry, could you?
How did you go about approaching that cozy feeling in Hela?
I don't know. It's one of those things where it just. I think it comes out of the process in a way. Like you're trying to capture sort of that, as you mentioned before, like that childlike wonder, and to try to create interesting places that are full of like things that sparks people's curiosity. And I think sort of the coziness sort of comes out of that, and trying to make something that feels real and lived in and just like cool to discover. And I think that's like, it's really fun to be small in a big world. So like we try to highlight that sort of mousiness, to have lots of like nooks and crannies to sneak into, and then just really explore familiar spaces in a way that feels a little bit unfamiliar, perhaps, like, because you recognize the things, but you haven't seen them from that angle before. So it's we try to make it a playful process and sort of see where we wind up with it. So there's not really like a method to it as such. It's kind of, we discover it as we go along.
Yeah, it sounds like it's a product of a lot of nuance and details that you and your team have put into the game. So you started to mention this, but can you elaborate a little bit more on the decision to have a mouse as the protagonist and how that choice influences gameplay and its mechanics?
Yeah. I mean, it's just really fun to be small in a big world, and to just like. I think it's kind of like that. You can make even the sort of kind of mundane things exciting, because it's like, to us it's just a little tiny drop, but to a mouse it's a big deal. And it's kind of cool where you can make something feel a little bit exciting and suspenseful and dramatic, but you don't really have to sort of do big explosions and high drama. It's kind of like, kids drama in a way. And I think also it's kind of cool, like, a mouse can go anywhere. Like they can sneak, they can climb, they're really fast, they can jump really high. And we also have the little froggy backpack companion that, like your grapple hook buddy. So it's kind of like a game where you really can go everywhere, anywhere. Like really try to utilize that sort of mobility. Like it's kind of like the In past games we've done, it's kind of like the world is always like your obstacle, but in this case, it's not. It's your canvas. It's really about just exploring the space and having fun with it. So, yeah.
Yeah, well, I love that. And I'm glad that you talked about like exploring and the environments being your canvas, because the environments are beautiful and they do seem very open to explore. So can you talk a little bit about how the game is actually structured and how that challenges the player?
Yeah. It's very, very nonlinear. It's kind of like we want as little sort of portals and gatekeeping as possible. Just kind of set you free in the world, and let you roam wherever you want to go. So it's kind of like, again, since you're small, it's one of those spaces that it feels big to you, but for the human playing it, you can get really familiar with all of these places. It's kind of like, it's probably, I can't say exactly how big it is because I don't remember, but it's one of those things that, like, making your mental map of the place it's not that hard, because you can sort of, learn the key places, the key landmarks, the sort of all of the history and background to each place. But then, since you're tiny, there's still a lot of like little things to discover within those spaces. So it's sort of small but big at the same time.
A little bit of both.
And also very just like, again, we wanted to keep it playful, we wanted to keep it exploratory, so it's like super nonlinear.
So your game seems like an expression of Scandinavian folklore. Tell us about those inspirations and how we can expect to see them in Hela.
I mean, it's something that we've all grown up with, and just like, it is kind of, it's interesting in Sweden. Like we sort of treasure those myths and histories, and then like, I guess what the take we tried to do though is to make a sort of a friendly version of it, because when you look at kids' tales from Sweden, they're all about like, don't try anything, everything is going to kill you and everything is scary. So we were trying to sort of flip that and say, actually do try everything. Going into the woods is cool, just try. So it's not like sort of super high fantasy in a way. Like, yes, we do have magic and things like that going on, but we tried to keep it a pretty grounded fantasy, that it is sort of mostly about the people of this world. It's not necessarily sort of like, trolls and goblins type of fantasies, but more like the mice work for a kind old witch. So they're her familiars. And now she's gotten old and a little bit ill, so she needs a little bit more help than she used to. Like, she has always been this sort of grandmotherly figure that takes care of everyone and everything, but now suddenly you have to take care of her a little bit. So it's, that's kind of little coming of age thing, and just sort of trying to do good deeds and learning more and more about the history of this place.
Yeah, I love that. So are there any particular details from Scandinavian folklore in Hela that you're most excited for players to discover?
I mean, we have to save some secrets, I guess, but yeah, a little bit. But also we tried to sort of I think we're big fans of trying to create our own narratives and sort of our own details. Like a lot of, like we don't want to lean in too heavily into something that already exists because it's more fun to make new stories in sort of the same tradition, but not necessarily just retell the old stories. So.
Yeah. And then one more. So, what were some of the biggest creative challenges faced during the development of Hela?
Sorry.
What were some of the biggest what were some of the biggest creative challenges faced during the development of Hela?
Oh.
A big last
Making video games is hard.
I've heard.
Yeah, but no, I think it's one of those things where like you want to have a really playful process, and you want to like the thing we like to say is like us as creators are kind of similar to the players as well, in that we sort of thrive from the same sort of things, and like we want the same type of challenges when we make things, and we want to sort of really inspire that playfulness in our team as well. And I think it's like there is a challenge in balancing that with also making something that ever actually gets finished. So trying to keep it fun, but also getting it made, and also making physics-based gameplay over network.
I could imagine that'd be difficult. Well, Martin, thank you so much for coming by. Hela looks amazing and adorable, and we just cannot wait to see more. We've got more IGN Live ahead, so stick around.